not end the way any of us envisioned. In fact, the finality of it all is probably, the thing that stings the most, because every player and coach in those meetings expressed just how nobody expected it to be over when it was.
The 2024-2025 season was another one and done in the playoffs. So much hope ended quickly in the desert at State Farm Field as the LA Rams dominated our Vikings in an emotional 27-9 win. Sam Darnold saw ghosts and for the second week in a row laid an egg. Where do our Vikings go from here? What pieces are needed to finish the puzzle? The fellas break down the offseason and what's next for the Vikings. The show starts now.
Yes, indeed. Play the sadness that is Purple Rain. But you know what, gentlemen? All is not lost, because on this very evening, as we begin our show, at least there will be no team from the NFC North that will have bragging rights this year, because the Washington Commanders went up to Motown and beat the shit out of the Detroit Lions today, 45-28. The miracle season for Jaden Daniels continues. And on this particular program, we are going to be breaking down what happened to our Vikings on Monday night, what we want to see happen during the offseason, and some important questions like who's going to be the quarterback in 2025, and do the Vikings keep some free agents like Aaron Jones? And you have an opportunity to answer that on our page. Please do. But joining me on the bottom left-hand corner, all the way from Minneapolis, where the Vikings roam, Tony Bell. How are you, sir?
I'm good since the Lions lost. So here's my question.
Yes.
When Dan Campbell told KLC he would see him again in 2 weeks, did he mean on the couch watching the championship game?
Yeah, tomorrow. We'll be both on the couch. Maybe Dan will get some of his famous Starbucks coffee, and him and KOC can watch the rest of the playoffs, the Rams, the Eagles, and the Ravens and Bills. Ryan Peterson on the bottom right-hand corner. Ryan, how are you? How was movie night tonight?
It was good, and all is right in the world in the NFL. Now, sorry, Buffalo Bill fans, but you're the last one to go. So it can be a total stress-free, a repeat Super Bowl winner.
That's right. We do. That's exactly right, Ryan. That's how I made my picks. I had the Ravens. I went all underdog. I went all road teams. I don't care. I know you're rooting for the Eagles over the Rams, but I want the Rams to win because I don't like the Eagles either. So just let the underdogs roll. That's what we'd like to see. Kansas City got lucky today. The check is in the mail to referee Clay Martin. Apparently, the Chiefs are 7-0 when he calls games. Geez, I wonder why. Just look at the tape, and you'll see why. But let's get into it. Let's break it down, gentlemen. Thanks to Quality Control, putting that picture on the top right-hand corner. The game that we did not get a chance to really talk about, the three of us together. We did text-wise. We did have our crying session phone calls. But it was quite obvious that by the end of the second quarter, going into the half, that the Minnesota Vikings just were completely outcoached, completely outplayed. And it's kind of frustrating, Tony, because it gets to the point of when can we really take this team serious? This kind of now looks like 23 all over when they won the 13 games and lost at home to the Giants. And this is kind of the same dead feeling. It's like, what does the regular season matter when you win 14 games and you can't win at least one playoff game?
And that falls on your coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing. KOC lost this year. His only 4 losses were to the two same guys. Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Sean McVay. Both back-to-back. And the second time he played them, there was no life in his team. No. On either side of the ball, it was just lethargic. You're kind of like, this is the biggest game of the year for you guys, especially in Detroit. You had a chance to be for home field for the number 1 seed.
Now, in fairness, Tony, I thought the defense played very well in the first half in Detroit. I thought it looked like we still had a chance in that game. We just didn't take advantage of the chances that we got. And when you play a team like Detroit, if you can't score points or touchdowns, you ain't going to beat that team, right?
Well, and also here's the thing. That defense is good. You cannot put that defense on the field in a situation where they got to win it for you. I mean, KOC is supposed to be this offensive genius. He's supposed to be this offensive guru. Where was it those last 2 games when we needed it the most? When Sam is not running, he's staying in the pocket, taking a beating. The man was sacked 9 times for the last 2 weeks of the season.
Well, actually, he's 15. He was sacked.
Was it 15? How many times was he sacked against the Rams?
He had 5 sacks in Detroit, 9 against, 14.
14.
Overall, Tony,
9 times.
Sam Darnold was sacked 62 times this year, and he's a mobile quarterback. So this all kind of pieces together what we're going to get into tonight. And thank you for watching here on the Purple Skull Squad show for Minnesota Viking fans. Ryan, same question to you. I mean, just your immediate reaction. I know you didn't really think fondly of the refereeing in that game on Monday night. That questionable, what the hell is that a pass to? But it just seemed to me, though, and let's just start off with this because it's the biggest story, really. Is Kevin O'Connell the coach to lead this team to the promised land?
I think he is. His play calling, yes, is very suspect, but he was also brought in to groom a quarterback. And like I told you earlier, I want to see what he can do, give him maybe a year or two, see if he learns from his mistakes, and hopefully they can build around JJ.
Which building around would probably mean what we all know, which is a huge problem, Tony Bell, with this team, which is the offensive line, especially the interior. And yes, there was a funny meme release that the NFL leaked the 2025-2026 Super Bowl picture, and there you go. Wouldn't that be nice? If that is the case, I will be happy that the NFL is fixed then, as long as I know that I'll be able to see that once in my lifetime. But
Yeah.
Tony, Kevin O'Connell, you and I have both been on the fence with him. I've questioned his play calling. You question his preparedness a lot of times, or the lack of being able to adjust after his first 20 plays in a game. There's a lot of things to look into this because when Jay Glazer released his information, it was the Sunday before the Monday night game, in which it was stated from Jay Glazer, sources say that there were teams looking to trade for Kevin O'Connell. Now, we all tried to think, like, who would release that to Jay? Jay, as I've said before, I've worked with Jay Glazer before. He's been at Fox Sports Radio many times. I trust him implicitly. He has the best sources in the game. He's right up there with Schefter. So when he releases something like that, he's not trying to say something that's not true, that's made up. And it might just be teams are proposing it to the Vikings. Let's give KUC the benefit of the doubt. But it seemed to me after that was released, Tony, the team energy-wise, the players, it looked like, kind of reacted in the wrong way with something like that released before the day you're playing the biggest game of the season.
I think the only one that could release it was probably KOC's people. And the reason I say that is because it has come out, and we've heard this. KOC wanted an extension after last year, and you've only had 1 year. So you're going to go in there and you're going to kind of bully the organization into giving you an extension when you've only really proven yourself for 1 year. And then you're going to play bully. Well, then, management's going to be different. And let's not forget, the Wilfs extended Zimmer and Spielman. And when they fired him, they still had to pay him. So if it doesn't work out with KOC, and you hope to God it does. I'm sick of this BS with the rotation of coaches.
Yeah, me too.
But, if you can't go in there beating your chest like you've done something, because in reality, when you've had to play your most important games as a coach, you have failed.
0-3. Let's face it, he's
0-3. I mean, you lost to Brian Dabble and Daniel Jones in your first playoff game.
And you lost the important, I would have been able to sit and relax for a week game.
You lost a lot this year. This year would have proved, because this year we were just playing with house money. We weren't even supposed to be where we were.
True.
You had Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was looking to make $45-50 million a year if he plays well. We should have been the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
But for some reason, KOC, it's almost like he just goes blank, especially against McVay.
Yeah, it seems to me he's very uncomfortable going up against Sean. It just seems like the mentor, he just hasn't gotten to that level yet.
No,
right?
And that's frustrating to me. If you're going to be a head coach, you got to have a take no prisoners approach. And I mean, how many one-score games has he won since he's been here? It
seems like all of his wins, 27 or 28.
It's not like he's blowing out people. And his losses have been glaring.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, do I want him to succeed? Yeah, but as a lifelong Viking fan, I'm tired of this crap.
So do you think he's going to be the guy? I mean, Tony, because this is a question, right? And I asked this to you, Ryan, next. This is a question that the Wolves have to sit there now and look at. Yes, he has what? Let's do the math. He has 36 wins so far. Mm-hmm. He's the youngest head coach in Vikings history to reach that in his first 3 years. So no Viking coach has had 14 and 13 win seasons. He has. So we have to give him that. That is, whatever you want to say about him, he doesn't have a balanced offense. He doesn't believe in the running game. Whatever he does win during the regular season, right? So, but here's my question now, because everyone's saying how wonderful a coach he is. Do you put him in the top 5 in the NFL, Ryan, right now?
Yeah.
You would put him in the top 5?
I still think he deserves like I said, I'm almost there with you guys about his play calling. I mean, the 8 quarters are very glaring, but I still want to, like I said, I'm going to see what he does with JJ and if he can build him up.
So let me just add to that. So you think that the Wolves should give him $15 or $20 million a year? Are you down? And that's fine. It's not against listen, this isn't against the salary cap. So whatever the coaches get paid, they get paid. But what you're saying now is that he should get paid more than Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, Sirianni in Philadelphia, who actually has one of the highest winning percentages of any coach, right? I'm missing a few other ones too. I have KOC around 8 or 9 right now, which is good. It's better than most coaches. Plus, he's only 39. Plus, yes, you have to believe, you got to give him credit with backup quarterbacks. He's done a pretty good job with. I mean, he's revitalized Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold should send KOC.
What he got out of this year with Sam Darnold should make him in the top 10. I don't think anybody else could have did it.
No, I agree. You know
top
what?
10,
I agree.
Yep.
I think the only question we have, though, like when we watch other teams, whether it's Kansas City tonight, whether it's Washington/Detroit, whether it's just the way that they lost to the Rams, when it comes to power football, when it comes to balanced offense, can he do that, Tony? Will he be able to do that?
He hates running a football. That's why I say no.
He hates the weather for both the games tomorrow. The game in Philadelphia and the game in Buffalo could be the coldest game in the history of the NFL. And I'm going to tell you, even with the superior quarterbacks that are at play, both teams are going to, all 4 teams tomorrow, the Rams and Eagles, the Ravens and Bills, are going to run the football. They're going to play power football. And if you watch the Redskins tonight, and I hope KOC did. The Redskins, the Commanders. That one day I'll get that out of my system. If you watch the Commanders and Dan Quinn tonight, they went for it. They out-Campbelled Campbell, right? KOC couldn't do it 2 weeks prior, but that's something that Quinn's done all year. But what did he do when it was a 3rd and short or 4th and short? He brought in power formation. He brought in an extra offensive lineman. He brought his wide receivers onto the line. And then he did a little boot to the right and had Daniels use his athleticism on an important 4th down play. Right? So there is a sense of that creativity. You have to be able to play power football this time of year. So my question to you then, Ryan, is, so you want to give him the money. Is KOC going to be the guy to take the Vikings to the promised land? That's what I'm asking you.
I really hope so. I think he's got potential to, but again, he has to learn from his mistakes. And like you said, he doesn't like running the ball. Well, too bad. To beat teams like the Ravens, the Bills, and the Lions, you have to match their physicality. And if you can't, you're done.
And that's a big question, right, Tony? Because we've heard KOC in training camp. I don't want to repeat the incidences, but we can recall there were two teams in particular, San Francisco and Cleveland, in which our head coach told their coaches to stop being so physical. And those are words that you're not supposed to say when you're a coach.
Coaching 101, you do not, I repeat, you do not, on any level of football, go to another team and tell them to take it easy. You ramp up the intensity as much as them, maybe even more. You go in there and say, okay, you guys want to do this in a practice? Fine. We'll play your game. And then go out there and hit them harder, knock them down, do whatever it takes. Make them be the ones that are like, okay, you know what? You're going a little rough here. But it's like, oh, you started it. You can't go and do that's just soft. I mean, this Viking team is soft. Let's just be honest.
It's a finesse
On both
team.
sides of the line, they're soft.
Yeah. They're a speed finesse team. That's what the Vikings are.
Yeah, and finesse only gets you so far.
Yeah.
It gets you from 120 to the other 20. When you get down to the goal line, that's where it's nut punching time. You got to be able to run the ball. And we have got the softest interior offensive line in all of football with friggin' Bradbury, Brandel, and Reisner. And before that, it was Ingram, which I think Ingram was actually a better run blocker than Reisner, which ain't saying
he was.
much.
Yeah.
I mean, but you've got backup linemen. You don't go like elephant formation where you bring in extra linemen. Are they all soft? We have Dan Quisenberry, never saw him. We got Rouse, never saw him. You got Dan Feeney, never saw him. You got Jurgens, never saw him. I mean, my God. But yet we see Johnny Munn every damn play.
And here's the issue too, guys. Here's the issue, and this is where, listen, I think all of us want KOC to succeed. I think he will. I do think he will. I think he's 39 years old. I think we've said this before. He's never called plays on his own. I would kind of wish he would give that up and give that to an offensive coordinator, but a lot of coaches don't do that. We know that. McVay doesn't. Reed doesn't really. So Shanahan doesn't. So, okay, fine. If you're going to do that, then he just has to balance. The Vikings this year, when they were really, really good, was early in the year. Why? Because if you looked at the play calls, passing and running were equal. And it was really fun to watch because they could play both brands of football. And I was thinking maybe KOC's learned something. Maybe he's going to be able to take it to that next level, which, hey, they won 14 games. We're not here to poo-poo that. That's pretty awesome, okay? 14 games is great. But the area in which we are discussing here, and please, if you guys have an opinion, jump on our page, the official Purple Skull Squad show for Minnesota Viking fans. I know I put a rant up concerning this where I was a little more upset about the story because I thought this was floated by KOC's people, and we do not know if that's necessarily the case. Glazer might have gotten that from someone else who found out that a team did inquire for KOC, and if that does happen, that doesn't mean KOC's people release that. But the thing that he has to do is he's just got to be able to realize, and while he gets a chance to watch these games the next few days and then all the way up to the Super Bowl, got to be able to play power football. Has to be able to do that on both sides of the line. Have to be able to build that up. I think Flores, guys, you would agree with me, has done a better job making the defense a lot tougher and faster. I think they did play with a little attitude this year, more so than we've seen. There still needs to be talent upgrades.
We still have no interior pass rush. When your best pass rusher on the inside is Jalen Redmond, who's basically an undersized nose tackle.
Yeah.
That's not saying much.
It's not. It's not enough. In this league, that's not enough.
And so I got to be honest with you. In all my years of watching Viking football, and that's 50 plus years, and we've had some pretty bad offensive lines and defensive lines. Honestly, the ones that have been in the KOC era have been the worst.
Yeah, minus the one, though, what was it? Bradford was 16, right? Where he set a record for getting rid of the ball. That offensive line might have been the worst of all time.
Well, that's because it was revolving door.
Yeah.
Everybody was getting hurt.
He literally had the least amount of time. I think it was like 2.5 seconds to throw the
ball. He had a different tackle every week.
He did. They brought Jake Long in, right, from retirement.
Yeah, and then Jake got hurt in Washington. They had Nick Easton playing center. Zimmer wanted to sign. He wanted to sign. Remember Andre Smith from Cincinnati?
That's right.
He gets hurt against the Packers and is out for the year. Is that the year we still had Khalil, didn't we?
I think we did.
I think so.
He got hurt. It was so bad. TJ Clemmings was moved. I think they had Clemmings.
But the one thing we can honestly say, other than Darisaw, the Vikings have really not done a good job drafting offensive linemen, and that's got to change this year. We've got to draft at least one of them, depending on how many picks we're going to get. We're going to get into that, though. We're going to get into team moving forward, what Tony Bell, what Ryan Peterson, what I'd like to see happen this offseason. Let us know what you'd like to see happen this offseason for agency draft. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But let's put a little bow on this regular season, and you guys can join us on this as well. So if I asked you guys this question, I'll start with you first, Ryan. Who is the most unsung Viking of the year? So the guy that kind of came out of nowhere that really surprised you. So not a JJ, necessarily maybe not a Grenard because we knew he was going to be good, but or Darisaw. But what player this year, if you were to give like an unsung hero award out or something that you were like very nicely surprised by, who would that be? I
have two actually. Metellus, or not Metellus, Bynum, and of course, Rip Van Ginkel.
Oh, everyone loves Van Ginkel. I mean, that guy is fantastic. He played, and I think we could let's do this too. Let's add this too. So, unsung hero of the Vikings and MVP of the Vikings this year. So, Ron, you have Van Ginkel and Bynum as your unsung guys. Who's your MVP this year?
JJ.
JJ? Okay. Yeah. Me too. So it's not going to be a surprise, but maybe I'll change it up now. Tony Bell, unsung hero of the season, someone that you were really surprised to see play at an elite level, either defensively or offensively, and your MVP for this past season for the Vikings.
I got two for the unsung, Grenard and Van Ginkel. They basically in the NFC were what Daniil and Will Anderson were to Houston in the AFC. And we thought when we lost Daniil, we're losing 12 plus sacks a game. Well, guess what? You sign Grenard, he gets 12. And you sign Van Ginkel, who I think gets 12 and a half.
Yeah.
So they made up for that more than, and Van Ginkel had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So they would be my unsung heroes. My MVP, toss up between JJ and Sam Darnold. I'm sorry. When you can get the numbers you get out of Sam Darnold in
he had an amazing season. Let's not.
He did.
Yeah.
Let's not. I mean, everyone's like, oh, he can't. You're seeing all this stuff, whether it's our page or other pages or social media. He's horrible. He turned back into a pumpkin. If you look at his stats in the 2 games he played against the Lions and Rams, they're pretty good when you combine them. He had threw for 245 yards, which was more than what Matthew Stafford threw, and he had less time to throw, as we all saw. He had his you-know-what handed to him, okay? And I don't know if anyone out there thinks that they could do a much better job getting behind an offensive line.
Well, we know the former guy couldn't.
Right. Oh, no, exactly. We know the man that we try not to say his name, Kirk Cousins, could not do that.
You said his name.
I know I did. Put my dollar bill in the jar. We did it. I got to find myself. Said the darn name, Kirk Chains. We all know it. We know it. He would have been sacked 12 times on Monday night. Okay, so Darnold's actually mobile. And we'll get into this because we're going to talk about the coach. We're going to get a little bit more into the coach in the sense of, does he kind of tie his quarterbacks up to the system and force them to play in the pocket and not allow them to branch out, which needs to change. We'll get into that in just a moment. But as far as my MVP goes, it really has to be Justin Jefferson. I don't like how he finished the season, obviously. But when you catch 103 footballs, you're the only receiver for the first 4 years of your career to go over 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns this year. He just is the one player on this team that if you were to start the team that you would take. So he is the MVP. He's the beginning. Darisaw close behind. as far as the season goes, Darnold, obviously, as you guys pointed out, played extremely well. Darnold had 35 touchdowns, 4,319 yards throwing, was sacked an incredible 62 times this year, still had a 102.5 rating, only threw 12 interceptions. So to get that out of Darnold is amazing, and I wish him well. But let's get to the question now that needs to be answered, and you on this page can certainly answer it with us. Who will be starting behind, hopefully not Garrett Bradbury.
Oh, God.
Hopefully not Michael Juergens. Maybe there's not a lot in the center position, though, so it might be Bradbury, gentlemen.
He's got one more year
He's starting
left.
behind Bradbury and hopefully 2 new guards to his right and left for the 2025-2026 season. Tony Bell, start us off. Who will it be? Or is it someone that's not in the organization?
No, it's JJ.
Okay, so you're
It's
just going to –
it's McCarthy. You didn't draft McCarthy to sit another year regardless of his knee. It's JJ. Right now, KOC's whole coaching career now is on JJ. And now that being said, with what I've seen him, with what we've seen KOC do with former quarterbacks he's had, especially when it comes to mobile quarterbacks, I don't want him to handcuff JJ to the pocket.
That's exactly what we wanted to talk. Will he force JJ to be Kirk Cousins, stay in the pocket, do my 3 to 5 step deep drop, wait for the receivers to make their deep cuts?
I hope not. I hope not, but you saw what he did with Dobbs. He neutered Dobbs. And to a point, I think down the stretch, he fixed Darnold. Because Darnold, behind that offensive line, you got to get the hell out of harm's way, because that's
I want to see more rollouts. If you're having a problem in the middle, roll them out or something. Although teams are blitzing from the corner.
And that also, that whole blocking scheme falls on KOC also. They're going to blitz you. They're going to blitz up the gaps. You know what they're going to do. The Rams perfectly stopped the Vikings A-gap blitz.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
Back. They stuck Kyron Williams.
They stuck Kyron Williams up there just specifically to block the A-gaps.
Yeah, they did.
And then when he held his block, if the pressure got to Stafford, guess what? That touchdown pass to Williams, he rolled off that block and was wide open in the middle of the field for the touchdown. Those are what coaches do. You make adjustments. KOC. Yeah,
we got to see more from him in that, definitely. Ryan, 2025, 2026, you got something flashy for me? Are you going to withhold the keys to the Ferrari? Are you just going to say, well, let's put one more veteran year to somebody and see how you recover from that knee injury? Or are you handing it over to the kid from Michigan?
I think you just got to bring in as many linemen as possible. A corner, safety. Again, this won't get cured in one off season.
No,
this is going to take, I would say, another couple years. Sorry, Tony, but again, if they can do this, it might take quicker too. Look at the Commanders.
Yeah.
We could be sitting here next year at this time, being that Commanders type team.
I hope
with
so.
JJ.
I hope so. Listen, I think JJ's the guy. Listen, I've said it when he was drafted. I think Tony, you and I, we were like, let's give him that starting job. Let's not wait around this season. And unfortunately,
I figured he was going to be. I had us winning 10 games, but I figured JJ would have been starting midway through the season.
I did too, and I'm ready for it. And listen, Darnold made it fun this year. Darnold allowed us to be patient in a sense, and the fact that, if Darnold was playing that high, I don't think. Say McCarthy was healthy, and Darnold started the season that way. I think Darnold would have finished the season. Let's face it. But it's great for JJ. This is like one of those things where he got to see for his own eyes the speed of the game. He got to see how teams will adjust, how they blitz at the pro level, how fast that is. And he now can judge that within his own game and now have the whole offseason to work on things. And the one thing I'm not worried about JJ is his work ethic. He's already expedited that knee injury. He already looks like, when you look at him watching a game, it's funny because there's certain athletes you see that they're competing even when they're not on the field. That's J.J. McCarthy. You can read it on his face. That look he had when the Vikings lost to the Lions, had that look like, I can't wait. I am recording that in my brain.
He's got it. JJ looking in those eyes and that meme we saw, he's got it in his mind now. If he's starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, he's never losing to the Lions.
No.
He's
honestly,
losing to the Lions.
Ryan, Anakin Skywalker, he's got that look to him, right? He's got that menacing look now. So I like it. And then he'll put on that paint. He's going to put on the war paint.
You got to remember JJ is a hockey player also. He plays
hockey mentality, gentlemen.
Yeah.
He's a tough SOB.
I just hope the guy didn't go there and hit somebody next year and he's not supposed. You're a starting quarterback. You can't be taking shots at guys.
No, you can't. Right. So you just got to he's got to level off the excitement, his physicality a little bit. Don't be like Josh Allen. You're not quite built like Josh Allen. Josh takes too many hits. I'm sure McDermott has talked to Josh. Hey, bud, I know you're 245, but one of these days he's going to get clocked and he's not going to get up. But
I will tell Viking fans this from what I've saw of J.J. McCarthy. He's got the quarterback smarts of Fran Tarkenton. He's got the arm strength of a Tommy Kramer, but he has got the cojones of a Joe Cap.
Yes, I think so.
So that right there,
I think you're right.
That's a recipe for success.
Yep.
Yeah. He's got the quick release. He's got the release like Brady. He gets rid of the ball. And that's that was an issue with Sam. Sam's a guy, he kind of holds the ball. He wants everything to be perfect. JJ's going to throw it on time. JJ's the ball's going to be gone.
And this is
they're
where
not going to get away with blitzing against JJ.
Yeah, and this is where I get on KOC now. JJ's going to make plays with his feet. You got to let him make plays with his feet.
Yeah. He's best. And you can go look at the tape. I know everyone's like, well, college is one thing. Really? Did you see that Michigan team he was on? They had 10 professional NFL players on that team, okay? And some of the teams he went up against, that Alabama team, okay, had like 8 or 9 professional players on it. So I don't want to hear this college is slower than the NFL. They had NFL quality players on the field.
I got a question. Who is this guy they're talking about that was his high school teammate, a guard? He ended up at Bama?
Really? No, I don't know. Really? Maybe. I don't know.
He's out. I think he's going to be drafted. He's coming into the draft. So
Let's get him.
Yeah. And my other question is, where is Blake Corum, his running back that was at Michigan?
He's with the Rams. Unfortunately, he got hurt, and I think he's back now. The Rams have used him, but the problem for Corum is he's got Williams ahead of him, and Williams is the guy there.
I'd actually might be on the phone with the Rams.
I would love to get Blake Corum. I think that's a McVay kind of back. McVay ain't giving him up. McVay's going to utilize him, and maybe as soon as tomorrow in Philadelphia, we'll see some patterns drawn up by the brilliant Sean McVay to use Blake Corum. But so I think the three of us all think it's going to be JJ. Listen, I would want to then say this. I do think the Vikings need to try to re-sign Daniel Jones or bring back Nick Mullins or get another veteran, because the one thing you don't want to happen is and it could happen, right? I don't foresee it, but if JJ really struggles and you might want to have a veteran there to help him out, take the pressure off, put the veteran in, kind of like what happened with Bryce Young, right?
How much is Jones looking for?
I'm not sure. That's a good question, because he got overpaid, obviously, thanks to the Minnesota Vikings and Ed Donatell's defense.
Well, now here's another one, too, that could be out there. Trey Lance.
I'm wondering if that Trey Lance boat is already floated and is now sunk officially as –
Yeah, but when you got somebody like KOC, who's supposed to be the quarterback guru –
yeah. Okay, I'm going to throw another name. What about Justin Fields for a year?
You could also use him as like a gadget guy too.
Yeah, same with Justin Fields.
Fields is going to probably be a free agent unless the Steelers decide to sign him.
Now, wouldn't it be something? Wouldn't this be something if say we sign Justin Fields, KOC gets hold of him and turns him into a pocket passer?
Yeah, no, I think you have to see. That's where but I'm wondering, my thought is this, Ryan and Tony, is KOC that stubborn? Remember, we were saying when Kirk, the guy we don't say his name, was quarterback, we're yelling at our TV screens, get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball. He was seemingly holding it for too long, and actually it got to the point where he actually said, I had to, learn to throw the ball faster. He did the next year. But it's to the point where I think this is more on KOC's play calling, guys. I really do.
Case in point, I'll come to KOC's defense. The guy went down to Atlanta and did the same thing. So
and also I don't think. Listen, if you guys think Kirk Cousins is healthy, he's not healthy. He stole money this year. He took money, which he did for with the Vikings uniform on for 6 years. So
he got paid from us this year anyway. And he didn't take it down. He didn't play it down with us.
I tell you what, Kirk Cousins, the best businessman ever in the National Football League. Him and his agent are Hall of Famers for getting money in their career, and they're going to find someone else out there this offseason, whether it's Tennessee, whether it's Cleveland, whether it's Vegas for a year because they'll draft a quarterback and maybe they want Kirk to go there, or maybe even San Francisco. Kirk Cousins will still be in the league if he wants.
Now, keep this in mind, people. We talked about this, Eric. I don't know if you've heard this one, Ryan, yet or not. That whole thing about trading KLC. Okay, here's the deal. The Lions are out, so naturally we think Johnson is probably going to the Raiders. But from what I'm hearing, Johnson is a terrible interviewer. He's as bad as Eric Bieniemy as far as interviews go. Now, who does KOC still talk to kind of on a regular? Tom Brady.
Yeah, and maybe is that the team that secretly wanted to try to trade with the Vikings to get KOC? Maybe
right.
They were the team, right? I mean,
right.
It would make sense because KOC and Tom Brady are text buddies, obviously both playing with the New England Patriots at the same time. I could see that happening. But look, here's what I'll ask you then. Let's just have a little fun with this. If the Raiders called Kwesi and say Ben Johnson says, I'm going to stay with the Lions, I've got unfinished business to do with the Lions, I'm going to do what Kingsbury's going to do with the Commanders. I just want one more year, right? So he's out. So Tom Brady calls, says, hey, I'll give you guys 3 first-round picks. Ryan Peterson, you're Kwesi. You're in your office. You got your coffee. 3 first-round picks. I'll even throw in a second. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'd say you want them. We'll take few of your first-round picks off your hands.
With that, I mean, you have to listen, right? I mean, if that is there, because the Vikings have a lot of talent. Granted, Justin Jefferson probably pissed off a little bit, whatever. He's under contract. Some of the players probably wouldn't like it because they love KOC, right? He's a player's coach. But you got to listen. The team's going to give you 3 first-round picks. That's what Gruden got. That's what the Raiders got trading John Gruden to Tampa Bay.
And I would also take that trade, but I want you to put Max Crosby in there too.
Ooh, now you're getting now we're talking like, whoa, here we go. Now if
I'm giving you,
Tony, if they put Max Crosby in the deal, 3 first-round picks and a second maybe next year, I'm going to get in my Honda CRV. I will drive to Minneapolis and I will escort Ryan Peterson with Ryan Peterson. I'll take KOC. I'll have a whole spread for him, the whole deal, whatever he wants to stop, and drive him to Vegas myself.
And here's the thing:
Max Crosby, 3 first-round picks and a second.
If
I'm there,
if the Vikings do this,
coach, but he's not that good.
Yeah, if the Vikings do this, say they do trade KOC. You have an in-house head coach in Brian Flores.
Yeah.
And
which means they would have to do it now, guys.
Yeah.
It's something that would have to happen within the next week, or else there's going to be they're going to get extended. Kwesi and KOC will get extended. They're not going to let either one of them.
Here's the deal, though.
Name ducks. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Kwesi's tied to KOC. Now, remember, Kwesi wanted to hire Jim Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
He was not on board with KLC.
No, that wasn't his first choice.
That wasn't even like his third choice.
So,
okay, fine. Talk to the Chargers.
Well, now here's the deal. Harbaugh now is going to have
Harbaugh back. Can we trade coaches for coaches?
Yeah. But Harbaugh's got to have heart surgery and
I know. I'm worried about it.
Oh,
Hip
man.
surgery, heart surgery.
Yeah,
I mean,
so he's probably going to be laid up for a while. But I mean, yeah, if the draft choices are nice, but I kind of need something to pay off right now and a veteran. That's why and Max Crosby wants out, and it keeps him from going to Detroit. That's why I'm asking.
Do that trade. I will drive Coach O'Connell. I will make sure he gets the finest foods on his way from Minneapolis to Vegas. Okay. I'll take him to his favorite place in Vegas. We'll throw it all in there. Just give me those picks. Give me Crosby. I mean, it's not going to happen. I can't see it happening, but never say never. It's happened.
It's fun to recklessly speculate among friends, though.
That's right.
I never thought
speculation. Exactly.
You know what? I never thought back in the day the Rams would have traded Gruden.
You mean the Raiders, right?
The Raiders. I never thought the Raiders would have traded Gruden.
And they got
no way.
They got 3 first-round picks, and then he went to Tampa Bay, Tony Dungy's team, and he won the Super Bowl.
Tony Dungy's team and won the Super Bowl
against the Raiders. Right?
Against his team.
See how that turned out.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. So let's now get to the point where we're all going to be Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. We got to sit here, look at this team. There's 21 free agents on the Vikings. 21 free agents. So that means, yes, we can spend money probably on 1 or 2 free agents, and then we got to be a little fiscal because we got to fill a lot of holes, right? Mm-hmm. And the names here, the first thing we're going to start off with, because the first decision that has to be made by you, Tony Bell, as Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is, and then you'll answer this next, Ryan, is who of these free agents are you keeping? Byron Murphy, Cam Bynum, Aaron Jones, Sam Darnold, Cam Robinson, Harrison Smith, question mark, because Harrison Smith's probably going to retire. We'll get into that in a little bit. Patrick Jones and Daniel Jones. Maybe even Dalton Reisner if you think you want to go cheap on a guard just to be careful that you don't get. Because, again, there's so few guards out there, guys, that Trey Smith might be franchised by the Chiefs anyways. And are you going to pay $20 to $25 million to get Trey Smith? But let's just talk about our own free agents first. So, and you guys can answer as well here on the official Purple Skull Squad show for Minnesota Viking fans. Put your choices down below as you're listening or watching along with us. So Tony Bell, or should I say Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah Bell, who of those are you going to keep? And is it a bargain deal, or are you going to pay a little more to retain maybe a Byron Murphy? What's your call?
I'm not going to break the bank for Murphy. He's the only one on there that I would even think about it, him and Daniel Jones. Reisner maybe, but Reisner is going to be a free agent, so Reisner's not going to demand a lot of money. The rest can go. Really?
So you're even saying like Aaron Jones maybe for $7 million?
I gotta get younger at the running back position.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you're saving your money for what we'll get to next, which is which free agents were we going to go for? Okay. Mm-hmm. So Ryan, same question to you. You are now Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah Peterson.
All right.
What are you doing with those names? The 21 free agents on the Vikings list. Who are you going to at least attempt to keep? Who do you want to keep? And then you got to utilize the rest of free agency and draft to fill some holes, especially in the secondary.
I would keep Byron Murphy since you're so limited at corner as is. Bynum, I would probably, because you're probably losing Hitman, so you need a experienced guy back there. I'm going El Cheapo with the rest though. If Aaron Jones wants to stay, he can take the minimum. If not, take a hike. Unfortunately, a good portion of those. I'd like them to keep Patrick Jones because, again, you need more on the defensive line, but I don't think that's possible.
Yeah,
I'm letting Jones go.
Yeah,
I'm letting Jones go because I'm going to have Dallas Turner.
Oh, that's
yeah. And they have Gabe Murphy.
And they got Gabe Murphy. They've got the other guy, is it Richter?
Bo Richter. Yeah,
Bo Richter. He looks like he could get some time too.
Yeah.
So letting go of Jones, and then is he a stand-up? Is he a down lineman?
A tweener. More like a tweener.
Yeah, he's more of a
I don't know
tweener.
where you're going to put him.
So I personally,
now this is all predicated. Now here's the other thing of this. This is all predicated that the Vikings will have Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator next year, and that they're still going to run a 3-4. If they run a 4-3, I might think about bringing back a Jerry Tillery, just because I'm going to need some big bodies. But then I'm still going to have to look for a defensive tackle, either draft, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Out of these guys, though, that I'm looking at, I'm more along the lines with you, Ryan. If I'm Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, I'm trying to sign Byron Murphy because I don't got any cornerbacks. Stephon Gilmore, I'm not bringing him back. He needs to retire. Shaq Griffin was very average. Okay, so unless he wants to come back at a low rate, I'm not. I might bring Shaq Griffin back. I think he's 29, 30. So he might get you might be able to squeeze another season out of him, veteran guy. But it's going to be for cheap. I'm not breaking the bank. Cam Bynum, listen, guys, I've soured on Cam. He had a really disappointing season this year, as far as I'm concerned. And safeties, you can get safeties. Safeties, you can draft a safety. They got Metellus. They can keep. They
still got Jay Ward, who I've never seen on the field.
Is he still on the team? I got to double check.
He is still on the team.
He was a draft pick, LSU. I mean, supposed to be, right? So then again, they have Asamoah, who's somehow still on the team, and Ed Ingram, who I read a story where he probably will not be on the team.
He's going to be a June 1st cut.
He'll be a June 1st cut, $3 million off the cap. Bye-bye, Eddie. See you later. So out of that mix, Johnny Munt's probably going to come back. We didn't even talk about Johnny Munt, but
God, I hope not.
He's the best third tight end on any team's roster, and KOC loves him. So Munt will probably come back. Brandon Powell, I think they need to upgrade as a kick return special team thing. Jonathan Bullard can stop the run, but that's about it. We can do much better there. As far as Sam Darnold goes, I think, unfortunately, I was thinking about tagging him, guys, but the problem with that is you might get stuck with that tag, and that'll eat up $40 million of your salary.
I would just let Sam walk.
I'll get the compensation pick and just deal with it. The Vikings should get a lot of comp picks, though, because there's a lot of guys that they have free agents. Of course, they'll be signing a lot of guys. Okay, so now we've assessed who we want to keep. Most of us want to keep Byron Murphy, except for Tony. I would like to keep Aaron Jones, but it's got to be for like a 1 year, $5 or $6 million deal. I'm going to give him a little less, just to say he's older. Like, where's he going to go? He's got to know. If he likes it so much, he'll take it. Daniel Jones is the mystery. I would like to keep Daniel Jones. I want a veteran quarterback. He's young. And if anything happens to McCarthy with that knee, well, then he could kind of be the starter. So you have that kind of security. That's important. We found that out this year. But as far as the big-time NFL free agents out there, gentlemen, again, you got some big names out there. I want to know each one of yours number one must-have in the free agency market. And this will be funny because I'm pretty sure we're all going to probably say the same guy. Tony Bell, I start with you. You're on the phone. You got $80 million of salary cap space. Who are you making sure doesn't leave that fine steakhouse up there in Minneapolis? You're making sure that is a done deal. We are signing you. Get this done immediately. And just to give you out the free agents, the big free agents, the top 10, T. Higgins, Trey Smith, Javon Holland, safety, Miami, very good player, by the way. Chris Godwin, injured designation. Khalil Mack might retire. DJ Reed is 6. Amari Cooper 7. Ronnie Staley, tackle, Ravens, is on there. Sam Darnold is 9th. And then Josh Sweat, edge rusher, is 10. So I just gave you some names. There's some other good players out there. Travarius Ward is out there. Rasul Douglas, cornerback, Carlton Davis. I think you know where I might be going. But Tony Bell, you got to get this deal done. Who are you bringing up to give all of us here on the official Purple Skull Squad show page for Minnesota Viking fans the excitement that next year could be better? Who are you going to do? What are you doing for me?
Well, here's the deal. You're going to put JJ. He's going to be a starting quarterback. You got to get him an offensive line. So I'm on the phone right even before I might be tampering. with Trey Smith's agent.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw him play today. He didn't impress me. Matter of fact, he got beat a couple times. But compared to what we've had here the last 3-4 years,
he'll look like Ed White.
He's going to look like Ed White and Hutchinson and Randall McDaniel.
He'll look like the greatest offensive lineman.
Yeah. So I'm not even hesitating.
You're not even letting him get to Minneapolis. Like, you're saying, whatever you want. Here it is, $20 million or $80 million for 4 years.
And keep this in mind too. He played in the elements in Kansas City. He comes to Twin Cities. He's playing indoors.
That's right. And we know, hey, if there's one selling point to the Vikings, listen, it's certainly not the weather that Tony Bell's freezing right now with the -3 degrees, right? But it is the fact they have one of the nicest stadiums in the NFL, one of the nicest practice facilities, probably the best in the NFL. So there's that. And you have a pretty good team in place. So as a free agent, if you go to Minnesota, you're going to a team that won 14 games. That has some appeal to it. So that might get it done for Trey Smith. So now Mr. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah Peterson B, who on your phone, on your Bill Moss superphone, people might get that one. I don't know if they will. That's an old one. But who are you locking up? Like, what are the positions of need for you in your war room right now to make sure that you get for the Vikings?
First of all, how many players could we get with that? Could we do one, or we have to get one or two?
No, you give it. You can go as many as you guys want. Listen, I'll sit here.
Okay.
You guys, you have $80 million. Okay, so you're thinking you'll probably be able to get one or two really good top free agents, and then you're probably gonna have to filter down in the 15, 20, 25s because you got to do what they did last year, kind of get bargain guys to fill a lot of positions, especially in the secondary and obviously the offensive line. But the Vikings don't need a lot. Oh, we haven't even talked about the defensive line, guys. Haven't even talked about that. And as I said, there's not, out of the top 20 free agents, not one of them is a defensive tackle. So just so that you know, and that's probably the prime position that they need. So that's probably one, at least that's the one that I would designate, if I'm Kwesi, as my number one pick, is defensive tackle, because there's no one out there that's going to help them out. But you now have the platform, Mr. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah Peterson B. What are you doing?
Well, I would go for DJ Reed from the Jets.
Yeah,
I'd go for him.
75.
And then I'd go for that Smith from the Chiefs.
So Trey Smith. DJ Reed are your two big wine 'em, dine 'em, right? With the roast beef up there. And I forget the steakhouse, Tony. What's the name of the famous steakhouse?
Oh,
Murray's. So right now you are whining and dining these two. They are not leaving without a contract. I like that. I like that a lot. I do.
I will slash the tires on their cars.
I'm going to get a little more greedy, guys. I'm going to get a little more greedy. I'm going to do whatever I can to sign Chris Godwin to a sort of, because he might not be back next year per se. So that helps me out.
He's coming off an injury.
He's coming off an injury, but I don't care. I'll give him like a $7 million get well whenever you come and you fit, and then I'll bump his salary to the next year, and I'll give him a 3-year deal, right? And just leave it at that. And because I need a number 3 receiver. I know that's outside the box. That's not on the list of right guard, left guard, center, defensive tackle.
You know what? We never took this into consideration. Jordan Addison's facing suspension at the beginning of the year next year.
Right. So you do need a good number 3. And also, I didn't add them, but Brandon Powell and Trent Sherfield are free agents. So you will need to either draft or bring in.
I tell you what, I would keep Sherfield. I would keep Paul.
Him.
I would let go of
I do too.
I do too. I do like Sherfield. He's a good blocker too. He really is.
I would keep those guys.
So Chris Godwin is kind of outside. I am with you guys. I am doing whatever I can to get Trey Smith signed, tampered with, whatever it takes, whatever he wants. And instead of DJ Reed, because DJ's a little undersized, but he would help in the nickel. If for some reason, and I think he's wants to leave for whatever reason, is Ward from San Francisco. And I don't know why he wants to leave, but Ward had the highest cover rate at 86.5 on the Pro Football Index. He's ranked 13 somehow. He's less than DJ Reed, who is 75. I don't know how that
You know
is.
what? Though with Robert Saleh going back, he might stay.
He might stay. But I heard there was something about San Francisco, like he wants to leave. So he wants out of
the Bay Area.
So he will find and he'll be one of the top guys out there. I mean, hey, I'll say this: Javon Holland is out there. If nobody wants Javon Holland because safeties are not necessarily.
Didn't Flores coach him?
Yeah. He's a damn good player, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
So bye-bye Harrison Smith, bye-bye Cam Bynum, but I'll put Javon Holland with Josh Metellus and Theo Jackson. I think I'll be doing pretty good right there. I'd feel good about that, right? And
okay, here's my question for you guys.
Yeah,
what do you feel about Ivan Pace Jr.?
You know, do you think I'm crazy for saying this, Ryan and Tony? I would put him at full safety, and let me explain. I would try it. Why. Here's why I would do it, because he can roam, and so I can put him up on the line, which Flores loves to do, because Pace is probably one of our fastest guys. He's just too small, and if someone gets their hands on him, he's in trouble. But if not, he will get back there. He disrupts the run. We've seen that happen a few times. He can be a blitzer. I mean, he's going to have to obviously learn.
You know what? Let him take over Harrison Smith's spot.
Maybe. I mean, that's not a crazy idea. And then
it's in-house. He's actually the perfect size.
And I didn't mention my unsung hero. I know you guys did. My unsung hero, Blake Cashman, because he led the team in tackles, and he was out for 3 games, whatever.
Yeah, he got robbed in the playoff game of a touchdown.
He got robbed in the playoff game of a touchdown. Because Blake Cashman, if you go 4-3, say I don't know if Flores is there or not, Cashman could be your middle linebacker, and then you would have to actually find a place for Pace anyway.
If you moved to 4-3, because I'm thinking if they did keep Pace at linebacker, he would probably be an outside linebacker like Eddie McDaniel. But even Eddie McDaniel,
undersized Eddie McDaniel.
But when you've got Van Ginkel and you've also got Gabe Murphy, if you go 4-3, you could actually put those guys on the field.
Yeah, you could. And I mean, I guess it depends on who's going to be the defensive coordinator. I think we still think it's going to be Flores, right? I think if I was to put a percentage on it, I think 70% Flores is back.
If it's not Flores, they would probably go in-house, and it would be Durante Jones.
Durante Jones, okay. So they stayed within their
defensive backs coach.
Yeah.
Why not go get Brandon Staley?
Oh God, that's KLC's friend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. We forgot all about
that's KLC's friend.
Right? They're like best friends.
They're the best of buddies.
Staley's a good listen, he's not a good head coach. He's a good defensive coordinator, though.
Does he run a 4-3 or 3-4?
I think he runs a 3-4, though.
If he runs a 3-4, then he probably picks right up where
he's got the talent.
He's already got the makings for a 3-4 defense.
Yeah.
So he probably sticks with it. If Saleh doesn't go back to the Niners,
I would be all over Saleh. If I knew Flores,
I would too.
I would want Saleh number 1 for my. I would even give him assistant head coach tag and whatever. I don't care
what the hell. How did Pettin just get an assistant head coach gig?
None of us know how that is. He's got pictures or something that he's not revealing that he has. All right, so that's what we've kind of had. There's a lot of other interesting names out there. Stephon Diggs is going to be looking for a team. Good luck with that, Stephon. Amari Cooper, another wide receiver. I mean, if you had to, he's out there. And the Vikings. Rasul Douglas will play tomorrow for the Bills. Is a very good cornerback too. Might be a guy out there that and all those guys are ranked higher than Byron Murphy. So you feel like you're getting a bit of an upgrade there. So all right, gentlemen, let's close this show out by kind of a final thoughts on the season, maybe looking ahead to next year, maybe what the draft needs will be for this team. I kind of think the Vikings number 1. If you got to assess what the positions are, right? I mean, right guard, left guard, they might be able to get one and then fill in-house. The other somehow maybe keeping Dalton Reisner, however you decide to work that. Blake Brandel will probably be better because Darisaw will be back. So obviously left guard, right guard, center might be a position if you want to save $3 or $4 million and blame everything on Garrett Bradbury. And then you have Juergens come in and then you either maybe draft or figure something out, wait for June 1st cuts. Defensive tackle, though, is a position draft-wise and this is a deep defensive tackle draft. I really think the Vikings have to get their big boy in the middle this year. If we're spending all that money on the secondary and the offensive line, then defensive tackle will be something they'll have to look at in April. We'll, of course, talk about that. But looking ahead, guys, I still feel very positive. I think the season obviously ended disappointingly, but there's a lot of bright things in the Vikings' future, so I'm not as disappointed as I thought I would be. Tony, your thoughts looking ahead, final thoughts on the season or something you'd like to see happen coming up here in the next few months?
You got to focus on rebuilding both the lines. Yeah. You got to refocus the trenches and build out. Instead, we've got the specialty positions, but the trenches are just garbage. Let's just be honest.
They are. They're below average.
Right.
There's no way we saw what happened in the playoff game. We saw what happened in the last game against Detroit.
Honestly, I didn't expect much from this team this year. So being that we were 14-3,
it was a pleasant surprise.
It was a pleasant surprise. Now, unfortunately, I'm at that, with my thinking. I got to 14-3 and I got some strengths. And I had a chance to make a move those last 2 games of the year, and I didn't do it. I could have righted some wrongs, and I didn't do it. And unfortunately, the last 2 games take away from what was a very strong and a very surprising 14-3 season.
Yeah, it would have been nice if somehow Tony and Ryan, that just for the respect factor, that they did beat the Rams and at least.
But here's the best thing about that: the Lions were 15-2 and got bounced today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel so bad.
That's why they play the games, right?
Yeah.
So you just never know unless you're Kansas City and you're guaranteed to win because of that.
Oh yeah, you're guaranteed.
Same question. Looking ahead, maybe even thinking about the draft. If you're excited about that, maybe the Vikings will be very busy at draft day. Since they'll have a lot of compensation picks that we assume they'll trade up, trade down, try to get some more picks. But your thoughts, either looking back at the season that was, and then maybe looking ahead, Ryan Peterson.
Well, looking back, and I know the last 8 quarters, we're all, as Vikings fans, we're all a little pissed off with how it ended. But you look at the positives. They swept the Packers. They embarrassed and humiliated Kirk Cousins at home. I mean, some of the games they won, they had no business winning, but oh well. I'm just very much encouraged of what I've seen, and I agree with Tony. They've got to start building. They got to get tougher because, newsflash, I don't know if you've seen who they have for opponents. 3 of the teams I mentioned, and one guaranteed they play twice.
I think
they play the Ravens
next year,
and they play the Eagles.
And the Eagles, yeah. So they're scheduled next year because you won 14 games. It's brutal, but again, I don't like to look ahead, Ryan, to schedules because a couple of those teams are going to drop. We don't know who that's going to be. But someone, like, you look at it like, oh, my God, this team's going to be so good. Like it was the 49ers this year when we saw it on our schedule. Or the Jets. A lot of people had the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
The Super Bowl, we're like, man, that's going to be this is a brutal schedule. And then, they have one of those seasons that they'd rather forget. Well, for Ryan Peterson, for Tony Bell, yours truly, we will be back. We'll probably be back before the draft. Maybe we'll do a free agency show. I got
a question. Where is the draft this year?
Green Bay.
Is it Green Bay?
Yep.
All right.
Green Bay.
Maybe we'll even do a Super Bowl show. I mean,
of all the places to put the draft,
in Green Bay,
they put it in Green Bay.
Yeah. Maybe sneak in there and steal our championship trophy. What do you think?
I mean, put it this way: there are people trying to get out of Green Bay, and the NFL's trying to get people to go in.
Yes, apparently that's the deal. Draft in Green Bay. Unbelievable. We will be back. We'll always have you updated here on the page, updating news. We'll have Tony's takes. I'll have a rant. Ryan's going to do whatever he's going to do in a beer hall. And, when you have the bearded logic one that is Ryan Peterson, you better listen to what he has to say. And, of course, the quality control, because she has to put up with this. She has to listen to us for an hour of her life, which is probably an hour she'd rather be doing about 100 other things. But yes. But we appreciate her work with the pictures, with the opens. So let's hear her close. But before we do that, gentlemen, as always, SKOL.
SKOL.
Thanks for watching our shows all year long. We'll be back to preview free agency and get you prepared for the NFL draft. As always, we will have all the breaking news here on the page when it concerns our Vikings. Feel free to be a content maker and tell your friends about us. SKOL!